This video is a rundown of the best free movies from ad-supported platforms as of April 2023. If you're watching this video as a short, tap on the thumbnail in the bottom right hand corner right now to see the full video. If you're already watching the full video, hang tight, more details coming up shortly. Don't forget to like this video, share it and subscribe to my channel. Doing these three things help us make more great videos for you. As I say, all these movies are free on ad-supported legal platforms and are available at the time of recording this video on the 16th of April 2023 in the US. Some of these movies may be available in other countries too. So, kicking things off, from 1984, it's Once Upon a Time in America. A former Prohibition-era Jewish gangster returns to the Lower East Side of Manhattan 35 years later, where he must once again confront the ghosts and regrets of his old life. Starring Robert De Niro, James Woods and Elizabeth McGovern, the two-time BAFTA award-winning Once Upon a Time in America. So, kicking things off from 1984, it's two times BAFTA award-winning Once Upon a Time in America, starring Robert De Niro, James Woods and Elizabeth McGovern. A former Prohibition-era Jewish gangster returns to the Lower East Side of Manhattan 35 years later, where he must once again confront the ghosts and regrets of his old life. This movie is the 80th top-rated movie on IMDb and has an IMDb rating of 8.3. That's Once Upon a Time in America on YouTube. Next up, from 2009, it's Guy Ritchie's adaptation of Sherlock Holmes, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law and Rachel McAdams. Nominated for 2 Oscars and an IMDb rating of 7.6. Detective Sherlock Holmes and his stalwart partner Watson engage in a battle of wits and brawn with a nemesis whose plot is a threat to all of England. That's Sherlock Holmes on YouTube. Moving along, going back to 1995, it's Heat, starring Al Pacino, Robert De Niro and Val Kilmer. It's IMDb's 109th top-rated movie with an IMDb rating of 8.3. A group of high-end professional thieves start to feel the heat from the LAPD when they unknowingly leave a clue at their latest heist. That's Heat, now on YouTube. From 2016, it's Oscar-winning Arrival, starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker. A linguist works with the military to communicate with alien life forms after 12 mysterious spacecraft appear around the world. With an IMDb rating of 7.9, it's Arrival. A real classic for you now from 1965, starring Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef and Gian Maria Volonté. It's for a few dollars more. With an IMDb rating of 8.2, it's rated the 126th best movie of all time on IMDb. 2 bounty hunters with the same intentions team up to track down an escaped Mexican outlaw. That's for a few dollars more on YouTube. Going back to 1997, it's LA Confidential, starring Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce. As corruption grows in 1950s Los Angeles, 3 policemen, one straight-laced, one brutal and one sleazy, investigate a series of murders with their own brand of justice. It's IMDb's 115th top-rated movie. It's won 2 Oscars and has an IMDb rating of 8.2. That's LA Confidential on YouTube. Going back to 2002 now, it's Minority Report, starring Tom Cruise, Colin Farrell and Samantha Morton. Directed by Steven Spielberg, in a future where a special police unit is able to arrest murderers before they commit their crimes. An officer from that unit is himself accused of a future murder. Nominated for 1 Oscar and with an IMDb rating of 7.6, that's Minority Report on YouTube. Going all the way back now, from 1968, it's the classic Planet of the Apes, starring Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter. Nominated for 2 Oscars and with an IMDb rating of 8. An astronaut crew crash lands on a planet where highly intelligent non-human ape species are dominant and humans are enslaved. That's Planet of the Apes on YouTube. Moving on now to Pluto TV from 1986. It's the prequel to the recently released Top Gun movie. It's the original Top Gun, starring Tom Cruise, Tim Robbins and Kelly McGillis. The Oscar-winning film has 6.9 as a rating on IMDb. As students at the United States Navy's elite fighter weapons school compete to be the best in the class, one daring young pilot learns a few things from a civilian instructor that are not taught in the classroom. That's Top Gun on Pluto, a real classic for you from 1994, starring Tom Hanks, Robin Wright and Gary Sinise. It's the Oscar-winning Forrest Gump, IMDb's 11th top-rated movie of all time, and with a massive 8.8 IMDb rating. This one's certainly one to watch if you've not done so already. The presidencies of Kennedy and Johnson, the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal and other historical events unfold from the perspective of an Alabama man with an IQ of 75, whose only desire is to be reunited with his childhood sweetheart. That's Forrest Gump, now on Pluto. If you're into your horrors, then going back to 1996, it's Wes Craven's Scream, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox and David Arquette. A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorised by a masked killer who targets her and her friends by using scary movies as part of a deadly game. With an IMDb rating of 7.4, that's Scream on Pluto. Going back even further now to 1984, it's the classic starring Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop. A freewheeling Detroit cop pursuing a murder investigation finds himself dealing with the very different culture of Beverly Hills. It was nominated for 1 Oscar and has an IMDb rating of 7.3. That's Beverly Hills Cop, now playing on Pluto. One for all you John Travolta fans out there, it's FaceOff from 1997, starring John Travolta, Nicolas Cage and Joan Allen. Nominated for 1 Oscar and has an IMDb rating of 7.3. To foil a terrorist plot, an FBI agent undergoes facial transplant surgery to assume the identity of the criminal mastermind who murdered his only son. But the criminal wakes up prematurely and seeks revenge. Still staying with Pluto, it's the Oscar-winning Pulp Fiction from 1994, directed by Quentin Tarantino, starring John Travolta, Uma Thurman and Samuel L. Jackson. The lives of 2 mob hitmen, a boxer, a gangster and his wife, and a pair of diner bandits intertwine in 4 tales of violence and redemption. It's IMDb's 8th top-rated movie, and it's got an IMDb rating of 8.9. That's Pulp Fiction, currently on Pluto. Staying in the 90s, back to 1997 now, with Mark Wahlberg, Julianne Moore and Burt Reynolds. Nominated for 3 Oscars and with an IMDb rating of 7.9, it's Boogie Nights. Back when sex was safe, pleasure was a business and business was booming. An idealistic porn producer aspires to elevate his craft to an art where he discovers a hot young talent. That's Boogie Nights on Pluto. Moving on to 2004 now, it's The Aviator, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Cate Blanchett and Kate Beckinsale. It's won 5 Oscars and has an IMDb rating of 7.5. A biopic depicting the early years of legendary director and aviator Howard Hughes' career, from the late 1920s to the mid-1940s. Another great one to watch on Pluto. Moving back to the 80s now, it's Rain Man, starring Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise. After a selfish LA yuppie learns his estranged father left a fortune to an autistic savant brother in Ohio, that he didn't know existed. He absconds with his brother and sets out across the country, hoping to gain a larger inheritance. Rain Man's won 4 Oscars and has an IMDb rating of 8. Another great classic now from 1983, starring Matthew Broderick. It's War Games. Nominated for 3 Oscars and with an IMDb rating of 7.1. A young man finds a back door into a military central computer in which reality is confused with game playing, possibly starting World War III. That's War Games, now on Pluto. Staying with the 80s, from 81, it's An American Werewolf in London. It's won 1 Oscar and has an IMDb rating of 7.5. 2 American college students on a walking tour of Britain are attacked by a werewolf that none of the locals will admit exists. Moving right on now to the free stuff from Tubi, it's another Quentin Tarantino classic, Kill Bill Volume 1, starring Uma Thurman, David Carradine and Daryl Hannah. Nominated for 5 BAFTA awards and IMDb's 150th top movie, and it's got a rating of 8.2. After awakening from a 4-year coma, a former assassin wreaks vengeance on the team of assassins who betrayed her. That's Kill Bill Volume 1, now playing on Tubi. So there you go, that is a roundup of all my favourite ad-supported free movies on various legal platforms in the United States as of the 16th of April 2023. Is there anything you've seen on any of the free platforms that you've enjoyed? If so, comment down below, let us know. Now, they must be free legal platforms. And if you've watched any of these movies and you like them, you don't like them, again, let us know in the comments down below if any are worth watching, if any are worth skipping. It would be good to hear from you. And just to say, if you're currently looking for a VPN or a new Fire Stick, have a look in the links down below. There's some great offers, and using those links really does help to support this channel. And don't forget, whilst you're here, why not have a look around? I've got thousands of other videos on my YouTube channel covering all sorts of subjects. Hopefully, whilst you're here, you're going to find something to educate you, entertain you, amuse you, and maybe even save you some time and more money.